Talktainment Radio Worldwide Sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of Talktainmentradio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Alrighty. Welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go on the world's greatest radio. You are now in touch with the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. Call-in lines are open. You can do that by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can actually Gmail me at the numero number 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. You can do that. Also, our preferred way is to have you go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage, hit the Listen Live button, and you're right there. The show is live, not rehearsed. It's live, not a podcast. It's live. And while you're there, hit the like and the subscribe button. We would really appreciate that. You can also go to the YouTube channel and type in the word Talktainment, hit the space bar and type in the word radio, and then scroll down and until you get to Talktainment number 2, and there you are. And while you're there, like and subscribe to that button. And one more way, you can go to facebook.com/Talktainment for the podcast replay, and you can hear the show there. Okay, got that out the way. Don't forget that we are still asking for your donations to the second hour of the Compensatory Concept. It's the hour that you wanted, you requested it, and it is there, but we need you to support that. There will be a couple of announcements concerning that, but all you have to do is just go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage, and there is a yellow donate button there, and you can hit that, donate any amount that you feel to do, any amount. It would be greatly appreciated. Okay, today's program is going to deal in two subjects. The first one, actually we will probably combine them, but we're going to speak about, I have Mr. Fuller speak about verdicts in the system of racism, which is white supremacy. And one of my faithful listeners indicated that I forgot to bring up a redlining, which I did say that we would discuss on, I think it was the 29th of August, and she was looking for the show to air on the 5th of September, but it didn't. But we're going to talk about that, what it is and how that works. Okay, or have Mr. Fuller discuss that, and then we will see. We will take any questions that you have. It doesn't have to be necessarily on those subjects. He will answer or give suggestions to anything that you want to do or want to say. So let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
Okay, I hear you very well. Good, good, good. Let's see. Let me open up the program with a letter. I know you don't like compliments, but I thought this was real nice. This comes from Brother Thompson, and he just said this. He said, Mr. Mr. Bobby, instead of the usual question or comment, I want to give Mr. Fuller a compliment this time. I want to thank him for his advice that if blacks cannot do anything constructive, that we should have little or nothing to do with each other. This has improved my life drastically. You get lonely sometimes, but it is much better than tolerating the normal destructive behavior of most so-called black people who are actually brown. This loneliness will actually bring some blacks to their senses and make them more constructive when dealing with each other. No pain, no gain. Once again, thank you, Mr. Fuller, for helping me to remove toxic black people from my life, family included, at least until they learn to stop being destructive and become more constructive. I know most of them won't, and that's fine too. Mr. Thompson, I thought that was very nice of him to mention that your word is helping him along with other people. So I wanted to make sure that was read and that you got that. Okay, today we're going to talk about verdicts in the system of racism, which is white supremacy. And since we're on verdicts, Mr. Fuller, I thought that would be categorized under the fifth area of people activity, which is law. And I found an interesting quote or statement that you made on page 149 of the revised expanded edition. And it simply said this: regardless of what you may have been told, expect at all times to be mistreated as a result of so-called laws, end of quote, and or legal systems, quote, end of quote, that you are involved in and or subject to during the existence of the system of white supremacy, racism. Do not expect truth to be revealed or used in a manner that results in justice and or correctness through so-called, quote, law making, end of quote, that is directly or indirectly dominated by racist man and or racist woman. White supremacists collectively, at best, expect only the expressions of so-called, quote, concern, end of quote, or, quote, sympathy, end of quote. Mr. Fuller, could you just elaborate on that just a little bit, please? Basically, it's self-explanatory, but...
Yes. Well, first of all, we have to keep remembering we're prisoners of war. If you're a person of color and you're on the planet called Earth in 2018, you were born in prison. You have, prison means what? Restrictions based on your color. That's what racism is. Restrictions, things you can't do, things you had better not do, which is anything that displeases the people who believe in the prison system called the system of white supremacy. That's the prison system. That's the name of the prison. The entire planet is governed by those people, not all people who are classified as white, but by those people who are classified as white and who have decided to make whiteness the standard for world government, and that everybody else can just make suggestions and all like that. People who are classified, who they classify as non-white, can make suggestions. They can have some input, which they do, and they can build things and help to do things and all like that, but always under the domination and along with the mistreatment, the whiplash, the chains, the restrictions of the people who believe in white supremacy. Mm-hmm. Okay? So that being the case, in case you have an assembly of people, which is what they call court is, the white supremacists run all courts throughout the world when it comes to non-white people.
Yes.
There are no non-white people who have jurisdiction over the world court when the white supremacists have an objection to what is going on in that court, so-called court. I mean, sure, there are black people who set up courts and what they call their nations and all like that, but the white supremacists are the Supreme Court of the world. Mm-hmm. Those white people who believe in white supremacy, that is the world Supreme Court. So they make the final decisions on anything that has to do with the affairs of non-white people, people who they classify as non-white, in all areas of activity 24/7.
Okay.
That's economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war.
All righty. Before we continue, let's take this phone call. Okay, caller, you are now on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Mr. Fuller. This is Lakeisha from California.
Okay, go ahead, Lakeisha.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
My question, I'm a teacher, and I've been teaching for several years, and I just got a letter of reprimand for doing an assignment that was connected to businesses that I have an interest in. So the assignment was, was a world history class, and it was a project-based learning class where we were doing a lot of projects. When we got to chapter 20, which was, it was just a short summer school class. So it was 10 days per semester. So to make a long story short, the student complained because she's seen some of her things on social media on my website, and then she said I was trying to promote my personal business and trying to use them for financial gain. The business, Mingle Tree Caribbean Girls, that I created was a class project, but I did license it as an LLC. But it was an international restaurant, because my husband's a Jamaican chef, but we never opened the restaurant. It was more like a creative project that I would use from class to class for inspiration, but it is actual business. But when I told the district, I was like, yes, it's a project as a business, but we never actually opened it. But we have it on social media for fun. We do things for friends and family. And then on the other token, I'm also a real estate agent. So we were doing things such as doing videos about how to buy a home, so on and so forth, giving them ideas on how to create promotional videos, propaganda, how it was in World War II, so on and so forth. So the reason why this is a problem is because I'm a second-year probationary teacher, and this is my 10th year. So in terms of me having the most constructive result, as I've been listening to you, I have an option to reply to the letter of reprimand. So it seems like whatever I say, they turn it around, because I had to end up erasing all of my social media sites, because all of my social media, they kept taking it and flipping it, into a different thing. Because for a year, I've been, doing things in terms of promoting real estate and trying to, promote real estate, because that's my way how I plan on getting financial freedom.
Okay, excuse me, dear. Just for the sake of time, because that is very interesting, just for the sake of time, could you just get to the meat of the question that you would like to ask Mr. Fuller? You did a beautiful job in explaining everything, but for the sake of time, we need to expedite it a little more. So could you just go right to what it is that you would like Mr. Fuller to answer, please?
Okay. My question is, I don't want to dig myself in any bigger of a hole, because they're already saying that I'm lying because I say I don't have a restaurant, even though there is no restaurant, but there's a concept of a restaurant. I erased everything from social media, but they're still saying, okay, now it's a catering business. So I want to know what would be the most constructive thing for me to write down on paper in terms of response. I already got the letter of reprimand. I'm not fired, but with me being a probationary teacher, it's like a nail in my coffin.
Okay. So
by March is when they decide whether they're going to keep you or they're going to let you go. Because if they keep me, I have to get tenure next year. And I know how Dr. Phil is always talking about how their goal is to keep you moving, never let you be stable. So I don't want to get too emotional about this, and I want to be prepared. So I want to ask him, what should I write a rebuttal to this letter of reprimand? Should I just be looking for another job? What would be the most constructive thing to do in this case?
Okay.
I don't know. You're saying so many things here. See what I mean? I can't keep up with them really. But that's my fault. But basically, when you are hired by anybody in the system of racism, I'll put it that way, you have to find out what they want you to do. It always comes down to what do you want to do and what do they want you to do. They meaning whomever has power over you. All right? And apparently you're talking about the people who have power over you. So you want to get it very clear about what you can do and what you can't do. You are in a prison. You're not in some type of equal situation. You're in a prison. You're a person of color. You're in a prison. So you find out what the people who are the prison masters want you to do and all the things that they tell you not to do, and get that clear. Otherwise, you're going to keep having this confusion, and you're going to have this anguish that goes with it, because apparently from what you're saying, it's not clear what your prison masters, either directly or indirectly, that's who they are, prison masters, want you as a prisoner of war to do and not do in their prison. You don't have any property. You don't have anything. You are at complete mercy of your masters, your prison masters. You have to look at it like that, because that is exactly the way that it is. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because you wouldn't be having any problems. People would be listening to you and going the way that you want to go. I mean, it's called freedom. You don't have that. There's no such thing as that for you in the system of racism. So you have to be very specific in finding out what they want you to do and what they don't want you to do, and write that down, make that clear, so it won't be any misunderstanding. Then you go from there and find out the things that you can do that they haven't asked you to do, and why it is, and have them put everything in writing. That's the best way.
All righty. Thank you, dear, for your question. Let's do this. TalkTainmentRadio.com is a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's one that I'm going to share with you, and it is called Talking Sports Plus, with yours truly as host. This coming Tuesday, we are scheduled to have a songstress. Now, if you like the likes of Nancy Wilson, Sarah Vaughan, maybe even Dinah Washington for those who are old school, then you want to tune in this Tuesday from 6 p.m. until 7 and hear the interview that we are proposed to have with Sabrina Touchstone, a world-class singer and has sung all over the world. She's local here in the Columbus, Ohio area. And if you are here, you want to make sure that you want to see where she is performing at and hear what she has to say and sing. It's very good. Talking Sports and all the other programs that are on TalkTainmentRadio.com are exclusive. And all you have to do is go to the Talktainment Radio homepage, click on the programs for scheduled times, and a little bio on each individual or each program. All that from TalkTainmentRadio.com. That's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And today we are talking about verdicts in the system of racism, which is white supremacy, and also redlining. What is it? How does it work? We are going to discuss that. We'll take your calls at 1-877-932-9766. Okay, since we are on that, and the young lady did mention that they own a real estate business, we want to talk about redlining too. Mr. Fuller, are you familiar with that term, redlining?
I've heard the term. I've never been involved in any of the litigation or talked to anyone at great length about the details of it. So I'm not familiar with the details.
Okay.
But I am familiar with the concept.
Okay.
And it comes under dislocation, which is, there's a portion of the book, the Counter-Racist Code, that talks about racial dislocation. That's one of the basic strategies of the white supremacists.
Okay.
They always see to it that non-white people, when they are beginning to get on their feet in any kind of way, then they are dislocated. They're made to move from where they are to some other place where they can't function very well without being almost helpless and starting all over again.
That's right.
They keep, in other words, keep them moving.
That's right. Okay. By definition, and there are many definitions, but here is one very good definition that makes it clear. In the United States, redlining is the systematic denial of various services to residents of specific, often racially associated neighborhoods or communities, either directly or through the selective raising of prices. If you would go to the Google channel and just put in redlining, there are several things that come up. One of them would be the disturbing history of suburbs. One would be, is this new redlining how people of color are being shut out of buying? And just simply redlining gives you a whole history of this practice. For example, one of them here says, what is redlining? What does redlining mean? Have you been redlined? I know when I was in school at Ohio State, we had a geography class, and I noticed a lot of different things, how white people lived basically in one area and blacks lived in another area. And I took the top 21 cities in the United States and found a very familiar pattern where black people seem to be segregated in one specific area. There were a few that were scattered out. And I realized that this was done on purpose. And then, of course, I became familiar with the term redlining and why. So we're going to, discuss that and what can be done about that. Let's take this call. Caller, you're now on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Mr. Fuller. I have another question. My question regards to economics. I know you said that economics is all with regards to time and energy. Now, I've been trying to focus on investing in real estate for financial freedom. Do you think that's a plausible way to fight racism, is by saving money, investing in real estate that produces income?
Yes, if you can do it successfully, if you figure out how to do it, you do anything that you can to better your condition in the prison system called the system of white supremacy. So whether you go into the cafe business or any type of business, real estate is a business. So you just see what you can do and what you have a talent for doing legitimately, legally, and you do it. As long as it's not hurting someone, I mean, you're not doing harm to anyone, you're helping someone, anything of constructive value. I mean, opening a garage or whatever, real estate, you have to do something. The white supremacists require that you do something in order to have income. So you try to do the most constructive thing. And so if you find out that you can do that in a constructive manner without doing more harm than you do things of constructive value, then you do it. That's it. It's not complicated at all. Anything that's constructive.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your call, caller. Continuing on page 149, we're still under the law. You also wrote this, Mr. Fuller. You said, according to compensatory logic, a, quote, law, end of quote, is anything that is done, quote, end of quote. This means that every time any, quote, policed, end of quote, person does anything, he or she is practicing, enacting, enforcing, etc., a, quote, law, end of quote, of whatever it is that is being done. It is important to know and to understand that, quote, law, end of quote, is not the same as justice. Why do people think that, Mr. Fuller?
Well, law is not the same as justice. Laws change. Justice remains the same. That's a quote that's in the book, I believe. See, laws change. It's certainly in the original copy of the basic textbook for victims of white supremacy. Laws change, but justice remains the same. So what is justice? Justice is guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Now, as far as I know, that doesn't exist anywhere on the planet. That's why it's necessary to get rid of racism, because you cannot have racism and justice on the same planet at the same time. It will never happen. It's impossible for that to happen, because racism is white supremacy. And as long as you have people being mistreated deliberately on the basis of color, it's a no-brainer that you absolutely cannot have justice. But you're always trying to do two things: replace the system of racism with the system of justice. Number one, you're trying to get rid of racism, but not just get rid of racism, but you're trying to get rid of all injustices. That's the second thing. Mm-hmm. All mistreatment of people in any form. And I was just thinking about fraternities on college campuses, because I saw an article in this morning's paper about that and all like that. And black people should be the pioneers, since we always, coming up, we're always falling behind what somebody else is doing, never having anything to do of our own that is of constructive value. When we come up with something, it's usually a bunch of nonsense that nobody would want to be a part of that's got any sense. So in just the college fraternities, we've been kind of stuck into just the old habits of what fraternities do. And we should be pioneers, saying we're not doing what fraternities traditionally do. One thing, that thing about hazing, that's mistreatment. We're not for any type of mistreatment for anybody anywhere, under any circumstance. And that thing called hazing, you don't find that in black fraternities and sororities.
What?
I said, that's what I'm saying. It should be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, starting out, and this fall, they should say, hey, we don't do any of that. Not only that, we're going to stop doing a whole bunch of things and start doing a whole bunch of things that fraternities and sororities have never been known to do. We're going to be the pioneers on what a real sorority is supposed to be like. We're supposed to be producing universal men and universal women, all right? I mean, who are top quality people in every area of activity. And that does not include mistreatment of anybody under any circumstance for any reason. And just take that as a doctrine and say, no, we're reforming this whole thing. I mean, and throughout the world. Now, the association that sets it up and all like that, they'll say, well, yeah, we'll go along with that because we don't believe in hazing either, and would say, well, yeah, we're going further than just hazing. We're saying the whole purpose for sorority or fraternity, we're supposed to be producing the best quality people that the world will ever see in every area of activity. And the black people should be pioneering that if they're going to have any of these things at all, rather than these little nonsense games and whatnot, and binge drinking.
Binge drinking.
Binge drinking, and all that type of thing. I mean, just following in the footsteps of what somebody else has laid out. Be pioneers. We got to be different from what we ever have been, what anybody has ever been.
Okay. We got to leave it there for this. TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are available. All you have to do is download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Coming up next, we are going to ask a question. You can expect to be mistreated in this system. We have a phone call. And what's going down in Dallas, Texas? That and more will be discussed here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Cooking online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Cooking products are better than those other guys. Ash Cooking candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling all right.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Kickin' online at www.ashkickin.com.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inahara, the author of the Essence magazine bestseller Race Code War, is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cutter Brother Rest Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is proud to present the Compensatory Concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. TalkTainmentRadio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is exceeding our limited budget. That is why we ask for your kind assistance in keeping the second hour on the air. If you believe like we do, help us in this struggle for justice. Go to the gold donate button on the TalkTainmentRadio.com web page and hit the gold donate button. That's the gold donate button. And please donate. Help us to keep the second hour of the Compensatory Concept on the air.
Here's an idea. You've heard of the notion of pay it forward. It comes from the 2000 movie Pay It Forward. Basically, the premise is helping someone with no expectations of payback, providing assistance to someone, passing information on, simply doing a good deed for a total stranger, and instead of allowing them to pay it back, ask them to pay it forward, doing favors for other people and asking them to do the same. The principle is the same as multi-level marketing, except that instead of soap or vitamins, it's generosity between strangers that is being passed on. Pay It Forward is mentoring, it's volunteering in your community, it's shoveling a neighbor's snow, or cutting an elderly person's grass for them, or taking a senior to the store. Don't wait for someone else to do something good. Do it yourself. It starts with you. Talktainment Radio strongly embraces the notion of pay it forward. In fact, we just did.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
You got the power.
TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Hello, I am Mr. Bobby. I'm the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and our topics are today the verdicts in the system of racism, which is white supremacy and redlining. We have several questions here, but before we get to these questions, we have a phone call. So let's take the phone call first, and then we'll proceed. Go ahead, caller. You're on with Mr. Fuller.
Hello, Mr. Bobby. Hello, Mr. Fuller. This is Jane Lance calling from New York.
Hey, Jane. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about Serena Williams.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last weekend, Serena Williams was accused of cheating, and they fined her several $1,000s. And she started ranting and raving, and she demanded that the referee apologize to her. So the first thing I thought about was you, Mr. Fuller, when you said that we should never ask anybody for an apology, to respect us or to love us. So what is the most constructive thing that Serena could have done in that situation?
Well, she did what she did because she didn't mention anything about race. So what I have in my textbook is that under VGQ, every victim of racism can say anything that he or she chooses to say. In fact, has the duty to say anything that he or she chooses to say about race, racism, and counter-racism. That means being against racism. You can make any statements or raise any questions or any issues about that. To the best of my knowledge, Miss Serena Williams, a person of color, she mentioned something about sexism. Well, that would come under racism, of course. So I guess that will also come under VGQ. So I can simply say that she just said what she said. But the code also says that you should never ask for an apology. Three things. You never ask for an apology. But these are suggestions. See, everything that I have written is a suggestion. You don't have to stick with it, not at all. Because what NEELY Fuller says, I'm not somebody's dictator. I'm just a fellow prisoner. I'm just making suggestions about what works and what doesn't. And I have found that, you know, that when you ask for an apology, it's not given freely. Because an apology should be. An apology is something that a person gives to you without you asking. In order for that apology to have what? Value. And it's three things you don't ask for, according to the code. An apology, love, and respect. You don't ask for those three things. For one, the last one, respect, is something that you give to yourself. So you never ask anybody for respect under any circumstance, because that can only come from you. It can't come from someone else. It's impossible for respect to come from someone else. Because what is respect? Respect is refusing to lie to yourself. Now, love and apologies come from someone else, but they should give it to you freely without you asking for it. You might not even be thinking about it, but that's something that the other person is supposed to give. If you have to ask for it, it's not worth anything. That's the logic.
Okay, would you say that if someone asked another person for an apology and they got the apology, that the apology is automatically insincere because, like you said, if you have to ask, it has no value?
That would be the compensatory logic. Yes, you don't regard it. If you have to ask and then you get it, then you shouldn't value it. I mean, because you shouldn't have asked in the first place. A person who comes to you 6 months later, maybe, or 2 years later, and say, you may have forgotten that incident where I did such and such a thing, or I said such and such a thing involving you, and I've been thinking about it for a couple of years and whatnot, and I was embarrassed about what I did and all like that, so I'd like to apologize. Now that's when it's real. That's when it has depth. But if you see somebody by the collar and say, you're going to apologize to me, they'll just simply say, okay, I apologize. All right, no problem, how many do you want?
But it doesn't mean anything.
Yes, because you had to ask for it. I demand an apology. No. And another thing, when it comes to non-white people, you can't demand anything of the white supremacists.
Because?
Period. Because of the system of white supremacy. You're a prisoner. Prisoners don't make demands. Prisoners beg. We are all beggars. We are born in a begging position. We are born in the position of babies. Everywhere on the planet, if you're a person of color, you are in a baby's position. You're only in a begging capacity. A lot of people say black people shouldn't be going around begging white folks for nothing. Well, you're not going to get nothing unless you beg, because they got everything that you want. You don't have anything. You weren't born having anything.
Okay. Before we, and I forgot to do this at the beginning of the program, but I'll do it after you speak about your book. That is asking about the movies. So I hope you have 3 selected. But before we do that, the question is, how does, in your opinion, Mr. Fuller, how does redlining affect the economical growth in a neighborhood set up by the people who put the redlining in the first place?
The people who decide where black people are going to be, and that's the white supremacists of the world collectively. They decide where black people can't even be in Africa. If the white supremacists decide, we're going to move you to some artificial islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, all of you. Now, what are you going to do about it? Say you don't like it? Well, you say you don't like a lot of things, but I do it anyway. Why? Because you ain't got the muscle. You don't know how to do nothing except what I tell you to do.
I see what you
mean.
And
your record has shown that.
Because
and that's the voice of the white supremacists. Right. And they have always made that stick.
Yes, because in a prison system, you don't have the right to or get to choose where your cell is going to be. They choose it for you.
Absolutely. That's why I keep using the prison system analogy. If you forget for one moment that you are in a prison, you were born in a prison.
Yes.
The name of that prison is called the system of white supremacy. That's the name of the prison. And if you're a person of color, you're born in that prison and assigned to a cell. Now, anytime the prison masters want you to move, you are going to move.
That's correct.
Period. Either, one way or another, you're coming out of that cell, even if you come out feet first.
Yeah, you coming out.
They can easily do because you've got no protection, and you can't even name anybody that can protect you.
Okay. Now, before we get to your book, why is it so hard for us as a people to remember that we are in a prison system and we are born in a prison system? Why do we have so much problem with that, in your opinion, Mr. Fuller, as you've seen over the years?
Well, for one thing, I haven't been saying it until just recently. I mean, I'm trying to figure out a way that's why I use that movie Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
So, and that's something I started maybe about 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
But recently I've just been saying, consider yourself, if you're a person of color, being born in a prison, and you have never been outside that prison. And the prison masters dominate you in all of your moves. Like in a prison, you don't move without the prison master's permission. You don't go anywhere in a prison until the prison masters say you can go. Okay? Go in this cell, go in that cell. Okay, it's break time. All right, it's recreation time. All right, it's time to go to the movies. Okay, it's time to go to bed. Lights out. Lights out. You people, you dark people, lights out. Okay? And I control all the lights. You don't control anything. You think you control something? You can't even control your breathing, because I can shut that off anytime I want to. There's nobody big enough to stop me, and you know it. And your grandfather, Papa, knew it.
Wow.
So he found out the hard way.
He found out the hard way.
Right.
Okay. This is the time, Mr. Fuller, that, let me do this. TalkToHim@radio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkToHim@radio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. NEELY Fuller, and it is at this particular time of the program that we have Mr. Fuller speak about his book. So, Mr. Fuller, speak about your book, the latest updates, when we can get it, and any pertinent information.
Right. You just go to producejustice.com, producejustice.com, and what will come up on the screen is a basic description of the textbook workbook for victims of white supremacy. And the book, all of the writings, and this program is directed toward the individual person, what the individual person can do. Not just what the problem is, but what the individual person can do in each and every area of activity where he or she happens to be. That's why I call it the Compensatory Counter-Racist Code. Everybody should have a code. Every person, every creature, because ants have codes, birds have codes. What is a code? It means when you do it, it works. Birds have a code for building a nest. I mean, that is in the code, the bird's code, nest building. A bird doesn't build a nest, say, like maybe a bee does, or a spider. A spider has a different way of going about building a nest that will fit the environment for a spider. But a bird goes about doing things that a bird does for a nest. So a bird does have housing, okay? And all creatures should have a code. The non-white people of this planet have never had what we call a counter-racist code, that what you do works for you and works against the system of racism and works for the system of justice. And it should be tailored to the individual person, not just the so-called groups as a mass. There's no such thing as the mass. You're an individual person. You have to make decisions all day long on your own without anybody around. And that's what we don't have, because codification is about decision making. Not doing this and this and this and doing this, this and this. Why? Because out of 6 things, the first 3 things that you would name don't work, and the second 3 do work. So you always have a code where you say and do the things that always work for you as an individual. The concept is you solve the problem of each individual, and you solve the problem of every individual, all of the millions of people on the planet.
Okay.
The billions.
Oh, okay. So we can get the book.
ProduceJustice.com.
Okay.
That's ProduceJustice.com.
All righty. Now let's do this, because I have so much to do. Okay, got to get to the list. Now, you left off, the last one, number 15, you left off was The Wizard of Oz. Do you have 3 for this week?
The movie list.
Movies, yeah. We have 15 that you have, and the reason why I'm asking is because a lady wrote to me and wanted to complete list of the 40 books that you suggested, 40 movies that you suggested, and they have religiously been on me about making sure that I get that. So I decided that I would do it at least 3, per week, so we wouldn't have to go through the entire list. It is as follows right now: the BBC, The History of Racism; I, Claudius; Gone with the Wind; Shane; Ombre; High Noon; Bound for Glory; The Grapes of Wrath; Sounder; Wild River; Splendor in the Grass; The Wizard of Oz. I forgot to mention The Shawshank Redemption, Casablanca, and Godfather 1 and 2. That would be 3, 4, and 5. 3, 4, 5. Now, 16, 17, and 18. What would they be?
Well, I would say The Treasure of Sierra Madre. That's another Humphrey Bogart movie.
Treasure of, I'm writing this down.
With Walter Houston, The Treasure of Sierra Madre.
Madre, okay, got that. What else?
Paths of Glory.
Paths of Glory, okay.
And Gandhi.
Okay, Gandhi.
Yes.
Okay, that's the 3 for this week. So next week we'll do 19, 20, halfway there, and 21. Okay, before I get to, I'm not even going to begin to pronounce his name, but it has to do with the 3 T's and not the 3 T's from last week. Let me take the phone call first. Okay, caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, gentlemen. Mr. Fuller, I have a question. You stated that in the world where racism, white supremacy exists, that we do not have justice, and the definition of justice and love are one and the same. With that being said, would you say that in the world of racism and white supremacy, that we do not have self-love, since there is no justice, and consequently it contributes to the self-destructive practices of Black Americans?
Mr. Fuller?
Yes. See, love and justice are one and the same. I mean, when you say love, you're talking about justice. Because you can't have love without justice. You can't have justice without love. But so they're really one and the same. Actually, the word love, we usually consider it like it has to do with what we call romance. That's where it gets contaminated in the ways of the Romans. That's an act. That's putting on. You know, romance is putting on. It's like it's like theater. It's like play acting. Okay? Candlelight and roses and that type of thing. That's play acting. That's putting on. That's like a show, a third grade play. All right? And so that gets mixed up with this thing called love. Love is justice. And what is justice? Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated. That's what, we don't look, see, we like the romance part of the phony stuff and all like that, the chocolates and all like that, Valentine's Day, that type of thing. We associate that with love, and we think that hugging people is expressing love. Just go, let me hug you. Everybody gets around, at the funerals and whatnot, and at the gatherings, and I love you, man. You're my homeboy. I love you, man. I love you. And shooting breaks out about 15 minutes after that, all up and down the block. We need to come off of that nonsense. We're pretending. We can't stand each other. And we ought to admit that. Okay? We got to back off and try to get justice. That's what it is, which means what? You guarantee that nobody's mistreated. You know when you're mistreating somebody. And you know when somebody's being mistreated. Even little tots begin to sense that at an early age, long before they can even voice it. They can tell when they're sitting in the classroom and they're giving out maybe some free food that day, and everybody gets some food except little Ronnie. And then the next day the same thing. Little Ronnie's sitting over there to the side. All right? They skip over him when they come down the aisle handing out lunches. And he's just, 6 years old, 7 years old. And he doesn't say anything, but he knows that injustice is happening. He sits there with his little eyes in wonderment. He's hurting. But nobody says anything. So that should spill over into everything that we think and do, everywhere on the planet, every day. Is somebody being mistreated?
Yes.
All right? And is the person who needs help the most getting the most constructive help? That's the definition of justice, and that's the definition of love.
Okay.
If you don't have those two things, forget about it. All that hugging and high-fiving doesn't mean anything. We need to even stop that.
Okay.
Don't touch anybody, because you don't know what love is.
All righty. Before I get to the question about the 3 T's, look, I want to get to your Gmails, but I'm required to go to the phones first. So if I don't get to the Gmails, you'll know why. Caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, caller. You're on with Mr. Fuller. Okay, last time. Caller, you are now on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question? Okay, I'm going to have to, okay. Mr. Fuller, we couldn't get through for whatever the reason. But anyway, this question, and I'm not even going to begin to pronounce this person's name. I would really mess it up. But anyway, he says this. It says, a question for Mr. Fuller regarding the 3 T's. Not the 3 T's from last week, which were telling, training, and testing. These are the 3 T's that Mr. Fuller has mentioned before several times. He says, Mr. Fuller, I hope this Gmail finds you in still learning mode. Mr. Fuller describes the relationship between white and non-white people as being either tacky, tragic, or terroristic. Mr. Fuller, what do you mean by tacky? I am not a native English speaker, and I'm not suspecting that the use of the word tacky may be colloquial or slang of some sort. Please clarify your meaning of this expression in its context. Thank you.
Well, it's in the traditional definition of it, but it just means loose. It means not sincere. I just described that. A lot of that hugging and high-fiving and whatnot, there's no sincerity to it. There's no substance to it. There's nothing to back it up. All right? That's to do something to help a person. Rather than all these, we got words, and signs and symbols and whatnot, with no substance to it whatsoever. Not willing to go outside in the rain to help anybody do anything when help is really needed. I mean, but we got all this high-fiving and hugging all the time. And we're the most terrible people to be around when it comes to this every day, helping somebody or trying to not to hurt somebody, then you will find other than the white supremacists themselves. And it's all an act. And we need to stop being actors and be real. And so, find a way to help people or stay away from them. All right? Until you figure out a way to help somebody or for somebody to help you to do something that's absolutely constructive. That's all it is. That's real love. That gets away from the tackiness.
Okay.
Because that's all we have now. Tacky. I mean, everything is the way we talk to each other is tacky. I mean, there's nothing, no substance, no constructive value in it. We need to be quieter. In fact, we need to be some of the quietest people on earth.
Okay.
Okay? Overnight, we should be that.
Okay.
And that would bring about a change. Because then, when you're quiet, it means you have to do a lot of thinking.
All right.
Because your mind kind of kicks in when you're quiet.
Okay.
We believe in doing what? Making noise. We even go around bragging about it. Let's make some noise. All right? We don't need any more noise. We need to be quiet and do some serious thinking about something for once in our lives, and we might be able to get out of this prison and dismantle it.
Okay. Let's do this. Gigi says this, Mr. Fuller, and you may have to take this to the other side. But it says, Dear Mr. Fuller, is the effectiveness of responding to the system of white supremacy racism in a codified manner something that is measurable? In other words, can progress made towards dismantling the prison system through the use of a counter-racist code be measured in order for us to continue using the same code against it?
The question is what now?
Is the effectiveness of responding to the system of white supremacy racism in a codified manner something that is measurable? In other words, can progress be made toward dismantling the prison system through the use of a counter-racist code be measured in order for us to continue using the same code? Don't answer that right now because we have to prepare for the second hour. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, the way it should be heard. Thank you for the pleasure of your time. We'll see you in the second hour.
Thanks for listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You. Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Alrighty, welcome to the second hour here on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the second hour of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. Listen, we go where you go because we are the world's greatest radio. And again, you are in touch with the Compensatory Concept. And this is on radio the way it should be heard, TalkTainmentRadio.com. You can call in now at 1-877-932-9766. You can also Gmail me, but I have to admit, Gmail's house is overflowing, so I probably will not have a opportunity to get to your Gmail, but at some point it will be read. That is at 7, the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com. Now, we would prefer, if I can get my paper together, that you listen to us. I don't have the paper in front of me, but we want you to go to the Talktainment Radio homepage. And as I'm efforting to find that paper, because I am lost without it, but we would prefer that you go there, TalkTainmentRadio.com, the homepage, hit the Listen Live button. Yeah, make sure you hit that. That way you're right there. You can listen to the entire program live. And while you're there, hit the like and subscribe button. Also, you can go to the YouTube channel, type in the word Talktainment, hit the space bar and type in the word radio and scroll down to Talktainment number 2, and there you go. And while you're there, hit the like and subscribe button. And also, to hear the replay of the whole show, you can also replay it on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the podcast on it. But you can also go to Facebook.com/Talktainment, and you can hear the entire program. Some people really like to do that, to hear themselves talking, basically, to hear what Mr. Fuller has to say. And many of you are beginning to take hold to the suggestions that Mr. Fuller is making, and I think my opinion of that is that's very good. Our topic today is verdicts in the system of racism, which is white supremacy, also redlining. If you don't know what that is, Mr. Fuller has discussed that in the first hour. Get or play it back and listen to it, and we're going to try to hit on some of that in this hour. Where you are living at right now, is it a result of redlining? Find out what redlining is and how it works. So we will try to do that. Mr. Fuller, the last hour we moved into a question, and this was the question. Again, it says, somebody wrote in and said this: is the effectiveness of responding to the system of white supremacy racism in a codified manner something that is measurable? In other words, can progress be made toward dismantling the prison system through the use of a counter-racist code be measured in order for us to continue using the same code against it? Mr. Fuller, what say you on that?
The answer is yes. And otherwise, you have to measure everything. I mean, if you're trying to get from one point to another, you measure it in miles or inches or something like that. So you always have to measure. So you measure by doing what? Just two basic categories. What you do and say, does it produce a constructive result? Or does it produce a non-constructive result? Another two words. Well, those are two words. Constructive results. All right, those are two words. Another two words is problem solving. Did you solve a problem in the most constructive manner? Okay, you can add that. That's an add-on. Problem solving, parenthesis, in the most constructive manner. Getting the most constructive result. Anytime you do that, that is a measurement against racism. Why? Because the racists don't want non-white people, black people, people of color, to do anything that solves a problem without making any. And they don't want non-white people to do anything of constructive value unless they are officiating over it. If you do anything on your own that shows any sign of having a constructive result, you're going to hear from the white supremacists. You know, as long as you're doing something stupid, that fits a black person perfectly in the minds of the white supremacists. The only time you're not supposed to be doing stupid things is when they come around. Then that's when real business gets down to business. That's when constructive things are done. And they will officiate over all constructive activity that has to do with non-white people. So how do you measure your force against, your counter-racist force against racism? Anytime you do anything successfully that's constructive, that works for the victims of racism, anything constructive, you're automatically working against the interests of the white supremacists.
Okay.
So no black person is ever supposed to do or say, you know, the words that we use every day, anything that's going to have a constructive result, unless a white supremacist is making them do it.
Okay. Let's go here. Three things. This is the first one. Mr. Fuller, people were impressed with what you had to say last week in this statement here. This is what you said last week. Quote, I do at all times relate to the flag the exact same way that the flag relates to me. People were just, it blew a lot of people away, received a lot of thoughts, you know, on that, and they wanted to hear that statement again. And they loved it, the fact that you brought that out, that you made this statement in 1984?
Yes. Someone called me and said, Fuller, you always talk about codify everything. I said, yeah, I always say that. Everything should be codified. You shouldn't go about doing nothing without a code. Without, you know, a code meaning you know when you do it, it's going to work. I mean, you know, that's what codification means. Yes. Electric code, plumbing code, the marine code, codes of courtesy, codes of conduct,
yes,
dress codes. I mean, it works for the most constructive effect. So, therefore, someone asked me about, well, they got all this controversy about flags and whatnot, whether or not you should salute the flag or how you should react when the flag goes by and all like that, and people wringing their hands about it. I say I'll come up with a code for a salute to the flag, or you might say a pledge to the flag, rather. And so they say, well, by how long will it take you? I said, well, maybe a couple of weeks. It took me a couple of years. And I was tearing up paper and trying over again. I'd have maybe 2 pages. You know, I said, wait a minute, you know, that's not codified procedure. You make things simple, not more complicated. So I said, I got to come up with something short and sweet and to the point, and can never be improved on. See, that's what codification means. Not that what I've written can't be improved on. You better believe a lot can be improved on in all these textbooks that I've written, volumes rather. But so I came up with that one, and I called the person back, or rather they called me to ask me about it again. I said, yeah, I remember I told you that, and I wrote it down, and it's this. I gave it to him. I do at all times relate to the flag the exact same way that the flag relates to me. And And I call it the Universal Flag Pledge in capital letters, because that will fit any occasion, anytime, day or night, anywhere, in regards to any flag that anybody ever puts up. That includes the Confederate flag or the Nazi flag. I do at all times relate to that flag the exact same way that that flag relates to me. And if anybody pursues it, what did I say? You do? Because you have to always know what you're going to do when somebody questions what you're doing. You got to know your next step and your next step and your next step. Otherwise, it's not code. If you don't know what all the steps are going to be, you anticipate the questions that are going to come up. All right? And you already got the codified answers. So when somebody says, well, what does that mean? You're double talking, Fuller. Suppose somebody does that. Say it means what I just said. I do at all times relate to the flag the exact same way that the flag relates to me. Now, if the person starts getting exasperated and a little hostile and doesn't want to accept your answer, even though that is the answer, you give the same answer that you gave in the beginning. Then you say, then you ask for permission to make a suggestion. All right? You say, oh, well then, you don't accept that as a pledge. You say, well, it doesn't make sense. I mean, how can I really find out what you're saying? You're double talking. I do at all times relate to the flag the exact same way the flag relates to me. I mean, that sounds like you being funny or something. Say, no, I'm telling the truth. That is the absolute truth. It can't get any better than that. And if it gets better than that, you tell me. Well, I think it can get better than that. So, how does the flag relate to you?
Yes.
Now they finally got to it.
Yes.
All right? And you say, I don't know. But you can ask the flag.
I think
that's it.
Yeah, the key word is relate, I think, in that sense.
Yeah, you're relating to the flag, and the flag's relating to you.
Yeah.
But you don't know how the flag relates to you until the flag lets you know how it relates to you. So if somebody else wants to know, you tell them to ask the flag. Because you didn't ask the flag nothing. You just made your pledge.
Made your pledge.
I relate to you, flag, the exact same way that you relate to me, even if you're up under the ground.
Okay.
I mean, even if you're just in my dreams, I'm still relating to you the way that you relate to me. But I don't know how you relate to me, and anybody who wants to find out how any flag relates to me, ask the flag. Because I gave you my answer.
I gave you my answer.
Now, since you have gotten into the business, I just want to put this.
Okay.
As a footnote. Since this other person is intervening between you and your relationship to the flag, then let them, since you have already given your answer, now if they didn't accept your answer, then they can talk to the flag about how the flag relates.
Okay.
Don't talk to me. I said what I have to say.
All righty. Let's move into this area here. Recently, and I don't know if you saw this or read this in your paper. I'm assuming you'd look at the Washington Post since you are in there. But there's been an incident that's been in the news, and it is really confusing, where a Dallas, I'm trying to use my words carefully, I want to say police person or law enforcement officer, but anyway, a black man was shot in his own apartment by a police woman, a law enforcement woman, shot and killed this man. And, of course, there's no verdict on that, but the Texas Rangers are investigating the case, but there's been some conflicting stories that have come out with that, and the victim's family have hired a well-known attorney, Ben, I forgot his last name, but he was also the lawyer for the Trayvon Martin situation there. If his name will come to me. But Mr. Fuller, based on what you have heard, if you have in fact heard that, what say you concerning a black man being shot and killed in his own apartment because the police person or law enforcement officer thought that he was in her apartment?
I say what I always say: you have the system of white supremacy, and it's a prison system. In a prison system, if you're a prisoner of war, I mean, all right, that's pretty serious stuff. All right, that's not what they call a civil prison. We are prisoners of war, okay? So you expect to get shot at any time that anybody comes around, particularly a white person with a gun, expect to get killed.
Even in your own home?
You don't have a home. You got a jail cell.
Okay.
Okay? There's no such thing as a home for black people under the system of white supremacy. That says so in the code book. You don't have a home. What we call our home. That's just a place where the white supremacists allow us to go. That's just a resettlement place. That's all that is. A jail cell. All right? And we're in a jail cell regardless of where we go anyway. So just because we have a roof and 4 walls, that's not ours, because we belong to the white supremacists. So if you belong to a set of people, I mean, who have captured you, you're in captivity, you've never been released, all right? You've never been compensated, you've never been put on your own 2 feet where you can stand up to anybody, okay? So if they decide to kick down their door, they put up the door. They allowed me to be behind the door and in the 4 walls with a roof and a floor, okay? So if they come in there and they kill me, I'm just a dead Negro, that's all. And we should expect that at any time, anywhere. Stop thinking that we have some type of freedom. It doesn't exist. We are in a prison. We've never been outside that prison. Never. Not for 1 second. And if black people can just get that in our heads, what does that mean? What do you do about it? You be cautious, and I mean to the nth degree. I mean painfully. When somebody comes up to that prison cell, I mean armed, okay, gun pointing at you, expect to be dead. Or if you're out in the prison yard, which they let you be, in other words, walk up and down their streets and all like that. These are their streets. You don't have any community, any neighborhood. That thing called black community or black nations, that doesn't exist. You're in the system of white supremacy, and there is no other system. So anytime they walk in, particularly when they have something lethal pointed at you, I mean, you are completely vulnerable, and you have nobody to help you. All the other black people can do all this talking they want to, and they should. They should speak up, all right? But when they speak up, it's up to the white supremacists. It's up to the prison masters to say, well, how many of you people am I going to kill this year? Because there ain't nothing you can do about it. You don't know anybody that can help you do anything about it. And if you do, name them. All right? We got to get that in our heads as individuals. There is nobody come to your rescue. You don't have a cavalry anywhere. All right? You have the complete mercy of the white supremacists in their world.
In their world, okay. Ben Crump is the civil rights attorney who is handling the case. And again, the Texas Rangers investigative unit is trying to gather the facts because there are conflicting stories concerning that. And I know that she is out on, I think, $300,000 bond. So just to bring that up. After I do this break, we want to hit the article you said that you read in the paper concerning fraternity. There was a question on that. TalkTimeAtRadio.com is the 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, politics, and here's one that I'm going to share with you. It's called All in the Family with our lovely S. Yolanda Robinson. Now somebody, in fact 2 or 3 people have asked me what does that S stand for. I'll tell you what. Why don't you call the show when she's on and ask her what does that S in her name stands for, and I'm quite sure she will tell you. But All in the Family, all that and all the other shows are listed on the TalkTimeAtRadio.com homepage, times and also little short bios that are there. That's right. Talktainmentradio.com. That's radio the way it should be heard. I am Mr. Bobby. I'm the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Don't forget, this is the donate hour, and you can donate at any time. There will be an announcement at the middle of the program, but hit that yellow donate button if you're on that home page, and you can donate any amount that you want to. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can call to get in contact with the show to speak on today's topic, which has been the verdicts in the system of racism, white supremacy, and redlining, which we are doing. But a question came up, Mr. Fuller. You had just hit briefly on an article that you said you read in the paper concerning fraternities. Hello, Mr. Fuller?
Oh, yes. That's the Washington Post.
Okay.
A newspaper this morning. They're talking about fraternities in general and sororities and hazing.
Okay.
And I was saying that black people who, these are just suggestions, compensatory suggestions, they should set a goal of being what I call having the quality of universal men and universal women. Because since I think sororities are supposed, and fraternities are supposed to be people who have some type of different standards of doing things. So I would say different standards in order to accomplish what? All right? What is a fraternity for? What is a sorority for? And the people who are members of fraternities and sororities should be able to give that answer. But I'm saying, for black people, considering black people's position in the world, they should pioneer different views or new views or get some new ideas, I think, about how to expand the mission and improve the mission and improve the quality of what a sorority or what a fraternity is really, really all about. What is it for? And it's got to be in one of two categories, like everything else that black people should be doing, non-white people, and that is constructive, non-constructive. So that raises a question, because I always say all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. So is hazing something that is constructive based on the record of hazing? What constructive comes out of it? What has been proven to be constructive about it? Binge drinking. What has been proven to be constructive about it? Maybe black people should pioneer a whole new concept of what a fraternity and a sorority is supposed to be about. Because everything that we're supposed to be about is supposed to be 100% constructive.
Okay.
Never anything is non-constructive.
Mm-hmm.
Not one word, not one deed. And so if what you call college fraternities and college sororities are supposed to be worth anything, maybe, this is just a suggestion, a compensatory suggestion, at your meetings, you should open this fall all over the world where you have what you call black sororities and black fraternities, or non-white sororities or fraternities.
The boule.
Yeah, whatever, on a college campus. What are we really about? And is it constructive or is it non-constructive? And then I have suggestions about what everybody on the planet should be about.
Yes.
And that is being universal man and universal woman.
Okay.
And you can check some of those suggestions out by going to page 169 and 170 of
the Revised Standard?
The revised textbook for racism.
All righty. Okay, question here on the redlining. In the system of white supremacy, is redlining used as warfare against non-white people?
Absolutely. If you call, what they call redlining, I mean, that's a slang term and whatnot. It could be white lining. I don't know, but somebody called it that. But all it is just restrictions like you have in any prison system. You people go over here. This will be your section of town. And we usually, after we get there, we call it a black community. That's not a community. The community has power. Black people are assigned where they're going to be. And we think a whole bunch of black people who are bunched together at a certain geographical location automatically makes a community. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, but these are assigned places. In the system of white supremacy, no non-white people go, except where the white supremacists tell them they must be. They must be. This is why they set all the borders on the planet. They determine whose border is valid and whose border is not, because they set the borders. There are no borders for the white supremacists. They go where they please.
When they want to, yes.
All right. They don't have, we call it the white community, but that doesn't make sense. I mean, naturally you have a white world, all right, and the black people are just shuffling around in it to assign places. And so the so-called redlining is just say, that just means that, okay, we're going to have a city, we're going to build a whole new city in the middle of the desert. Okay, so when they do that, they say, now, in this city, we're going to have some people of color. So, hey, over here on the northeast side is where they're going to be. And you better believe that's exactly where you're going to be.
So when you said, I think it was last year, I had never heard of it, but I think it was a song, you got a room in a shack.
Oh, well, that refers to another thing.
Oh, okay.
Where I call it, so people will remember it, the shack by the track with the room in the back.
Yeah, that's what it was, yeah.
That's under economics. That has to do with a suggestion that black people should have. If you can't always do it because you don't have enough space for yourself. But if you can, always try to have a room set aside and all like that for somebody who finds, who gets on hard times. A basement space or something where someone who's just going through a little difficulty, if you can spare the space, I mean, let them have that space. If you have a house and you have a little, what you might call, you have enough money to have a little guest house out back and whatnot, I mean, you might have a cousin or somebody who has been set out and all like that. And if you're on excellent terms with that cousin and whatnot, always have that little space set aside. I mean, just don't pile up a whole bunch of junk in that place where you can say, you know what, we can clean out this place and that'll be a little room for, Hattie Mae. Or, or when she gets out of, because when she gets out of college this year, she really doesn't have any place to go because their house burned down, okay, and right at the time she was coming out of college. So, so let Hattie Mae, that's one of our cousins. Let her come over there and stay in that place out back.
But the fact of the matter is the supremacists have designed the places where we could go.
Yes, see, and the reason I mentioned that shack by the track with the room in the back, in the old days when I was coming up, there weren't a whole lot of what you call black people who were what you call homeless. I mean, they really weren't. Or rather, I prefer to call it houseless, on account of those little shacks by the track with the room in the back. And I actually experienced that when I was in Chicago years ago, and winter was coming. And some people have been laid off from their jobs. And I noticed some of the fellows were saying who came from down south, they say, yeah, but I got me a Greyhound bus ticket that I've been holding on to just in case. And so, I knew my job might play out at the factory. So now it's getting cold in Chicago. Chicago winters are brutal. Okay.
Gotta leave it there.
All right.
TalkTimeRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are available. Download the TalkTimeRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right where you are. We're going to have a phone call and a couple of more Gmails and more coming up next on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard on TalkTimeRadio.com.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Kickin online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Kickin products are better than those other guys. Ash Kickin candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling all right.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Kickin online at www.ashkickin.com.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
Sex Code War by Kahari Naharo, the author of the Essence magazine bestseller Race Code War, is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cutter Brother Rest Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-422-2226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
Here's an idea. You've heard of the notion of pay it forward? It comes from the 2000 movie Pay It Forward. Basically, the premise is helping someone with no expectations of payback, providing assistance to someone, passing information on, simply doing a good deed for a total stranger, and instead of allowing them to pay it back, ask them to pay it forward. Doing favors for other people and asking them to do the same. The principle is the same as multi-level marketing, except that instead of soap or vitamins, it's generosity between strangers that is being passed on. Pay It Forward is mentoring, it's volunteering in your community, it's shoveling a neighbor's snow, or cutting an elderly person's grass for them, or taking a senior to the store. Don't wait for someone else to do something good. Do it yourself. It starts with you. Talktainment Radio strongly embraces the notion of pay it forward. In fact, we just did.
Talktainmentradio.com is proud to present the Compensatory Concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. Talktainmentradio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is exceeding our limited budget. That is why we ask for your kind assistance in keeping the second hour on the air. If you believe like we do, help us in this struggle for justice. Go to the gold donate button on the talktainmentradio.com web page and hit the gold donate button. That's the gold donate button. And please donate. Help us to keep the second hour of the Compensatory Concept on the air. Thank you.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
You got the power.
TalkTainmentRadio.com. Wherever you go, just download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. I am Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. NEELY Fuller Jr. We are talking about verdicts in the system of racism, which is white supremacy and redlining. That one commercial talking about pay it forward, didn't that sound like the voice of Michael Eric Dyson? Well, to me it did. And for those of you who are media savvy and like to read and think you know anything, or know some things, that sex code war, read that and let me know what your opinion is, that especially since on media they're always talking about sex. Before we go to the phone calls, these are the recommended books, movies that Mr. Fuller has mentioned as suggestions of reading. Number one, the BBC History of Racism, I, Claudius, Gone with the Wind, The Shawshank Redemption, Casablanca, Godfather 1 and 2, I know they made 3, Shane, Hombre, High Noon, Bound for Glory, The Grapes of Wrath, Sounder, Wild River, Splendor in the Grass, The Wizard of Oz, Treasure of Sierra Madre, Paths of Glory, and Gandhi. Next week we should have 3 more, which would make us at 21. Okay, let's go to the phone calls. Caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
You got me?
Yes, sir, brother. Go ahead.
They came, they saw, they conquered, they exterminated. What we really call white supremacy is greed dressed up to look like a skin game. That makes greed more acceptable. The Vikings was terrorizing white folks all through Europe. The Vikings didn't care if they was white as snow. The Vikings came, took their animals, their food, took their women, and took their children. King Leopold went in Africa to steal and kill. He didn't give a damn what color your skin was. So what they are doing with white supremacy is, and I have no doubt Mr. Fuller, but it's greed. Marcus Garvey used to tell to the white man was so vicious, the lynching, the killings in Africa. Garvey used to tell the white man, where is your humanity, man? Where is your humanity, man? They have no humanity. That's not every Caucasian. That is the ones in power. They have no humanity. This is about greed, but it's much better if I make it a skin color. That makes it more acceptable. Now, the slaughter and murder of us will continue. It has to continue as they lead us to our all-out extermination. Mr. Hitler told the German people, be brutal, have no pity. Those are the acts we are seeing today with Dylan Roof going in a church, slaughtering 9 unarmed people. Now he sits in a jail cell eating, drinking, getting high, and everything else. This is what we are seeing. It's going to continue. If you want to have a chance for life, you have to think seriously about trying to escape. You're not going to escape white supremacy. They run the world in space. But you might be able to get your grandchildren, your child somewhere and live your life out if you're able.
All right, my brother.
You're not going to escape. Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir, brother. All right. That's the brother from Chicago, affectionately called on social media as the extermination man. I didn't coin him that, but people did, and he gives his VGQ. Okay, let's see here, Mr. Fuller. I had a question up here. Let's see if I can get it. Okay, this comes from, Brother Jabari. Yes, we still need donations. I know you're donating again for the second or third time. I don't have a figure on that, but thank you for your donations and your inquiry to see where we're at and your continued support. Thank you, Brother Jabari. This comes from Brother Palmer. He says this, Mr. Bobby, can you ask Mr. Fuller when our non-white people are going to wake up to the reality that when someone calls you the N-word and or engages in name-calling, that this act is the least of your concerns when you are subject to the global business system of white supremacy, racism, in all areas of people activity. Mr. Fuller has stated many times over and over that non-white people need to allow their logic to direct their emotions. Mr. Fuller has also stated what is an emotion. He has explained that an emotion is energy. The energy from emotion needs to be redirected to logic. Mr. Fuller, when are non-white people going to stop seeking the approval of racist man and racist woman?
When are non-white people going to do what?
Stop seeking the approval of racist man and racist woman.
Oh, it's just a matter of understanding we're in a system of white supremacy, that's all. We're in a prison system. And keep putting it in your mind each and every day you are in prison. So you act like a person who is in prison. And a person who is in prison, who acts like a person who is in prison, is usually a person who is at least thinking about, how do I not be in prison? That should be the priority. We shouldn't have these other priorities like just showing out to each other, because that is our priority, truth be told. When you look at the activities of black people, they're just looking forward to another holiday, so-called, or something like that, a little time off, so that they can go and find some other black people that they know on a personal level, and then proceed to show off. That is the priority for every, our entertainment, our education, our politics, our religion, our sexual activities. Find some more black people and say that, how can I express myself among them in such a way I can get other black people's attention. That's why, we spend time in the beauty parlor and all like that.
Yes, sir.
We're doing that for a reason, okay? Barbershop, I want this style of, hair. Okay, you're trying to do what? Attract attention. That's what all that is for. Attracting attention, okay? In most cases, some people are going and do it to not attract attention. They go in certain salons or shops or whatnot where they say, hey, I don't want to, I don't want my hair cut this particular way, or I don't want to, if it's a dress shop or a clothing shop, garment shop, they say, well, no, I'm going to, they used to call it dressing down, okay? In other words, I'm not trying to attract anybody's attention because I don't have any reason to attract people's attention. When you're trying to attract people's attention, you got a reason for wanting to attract people's attention. Now, that reason should have a constructive, there should be a constructive reason for attracting people's attention to you. You want people to stop what they're doing and pay attention to you. And once you get a person's attention, then the question is, why am I trying to get your attention, and what am I going to do with it once I get it?
Once I get it, yeah.
All right? Now, every black person on the planet who's doing anything right now that's designed to get people's attention, all right, dyeing your hair or whatever it is, or putting your shirt tail out or whatever, or hanging your pants down, I'm trying to get attention. I'm doing this to get attention. I wouldn't be doing this if I was out in the desert looking for some food and some water, alone, 10,000 miles away from everything. I wouldn't be doing none of this.
Yes, sir.
So the only reason I'm doing what I'm doing, I want somebody to pay attention to me. Okay? But you should ask yourself, not somebody else, why do I need this person to pay attention to me, and what am I going to do with the attention? Just that alone, if we think about that right now, okay, that will go a long ways toward solving a lot of our problems right now, because we're just going through emotions without asking ourselves why we're doing what we're doing.
All righty. Before we talk about your book, this comes from London, England. Brother McCann, who writes in continually, he said this: Mr. Fuller, in the past, you have said that one of the keys to suspecting whether a white person is a racist suspect is if they willfully withhold useful information from a non-white person, i.e. a black person. Mr. Fuller, what happens if I, as a black person and victim of white supremacy, have useful information that could assist a white person no matter how simple it is? Should I give it willfully as a matter of principle, or do you, Mr. Fuller, recommend that I should weigh it up on each individual situation? And I would appreciate your response. Kind regards, Anthony from London, England.
It's in the title of the book. A part of that title is what? The word compensatory. Compensatory means what? Means making up for what's missing. It means you get something in return for your efforts. Okay? So you just look at each and everything that you do each and every day with any person, white or non-white. All right? Now, if a white person does something for you or is in position to help you to do something of constructive value, and some white people will, then you, at that moment, see, you go by the moments that they're doing it. Any person, even people that you figure don't like you, it has nothing to do with it. If they are willing to do something of constructive value at that moment to help you to accomplish something of constructive value, then you cooperate with that person to the fullest. As long as both of you together are doing something of constructive value. Or if you can help that person to help you to do something of constructive value. You know, if the person is white, and the white person wants you to do something for them that will help them to better help you to do something of constructive value, that's within the compensatory parameters. That is definitely the kind of world that you really want. One person helping another. That's how you get justice.
That's how you get justice.
See, I mean, hey, you're not going to ever get it from anybody, not white or non-white, if you're not on that wavelength. People helping each other to do constructive things, never anything non-constructive. Oh, yeah, a lot of people, white and non-white, will help you do a whole bunch of things that are going to have a non-constructive result. It's all kinds of people chomping at the bit to help you do that. But anybody, white or non-white, see, look at it like that, constructive, non-constructive. That's the only thing you really need to think about all day long. Is this constructive? And if it is constructive, how? Okay? And once you get the answer, you know what to do.
Okay.
Or you can figure out what to do, or you can get somebody to help you.
Yes, sir.
All right? But just keep in mind, constructive, non-constructive, under any circumstance. It always works for the best.
Got it. All right, before we talk about your book, let me quickly take this phone call. Caller, you are now on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead with your question.
Yes. In the 9 areas of people activity, I've been thinking about how do we go about, where do we begin to control those 9 areas of people activity so that we can bring justice to this area of the world and possibly the planet. Like, for example, in law, I know it begins with our family and how we raise our children and educating them properly, but so that they can pursue governmental positions, so that they can, vote and bring about justice in the people activity of law. But how do we go about doing it in all of the other areas?
Okay, Mr. Fuller.
As outlined in the code. That's why I wrote the code. Just look in the code book. These are my suggestions. Suggestion after suggestion after suggestion. People often ask me this on the air, and it's kind of puzzling to me because I say, it's all do's and don'ts. There are things that you don't do, in things that you do. It's not complicated at all. But I can understand how that came about because that's the way I was taught. I was taught, basically in the system of white supremacy to take real simple things and make them extremely complicated. So I will wind up asking questions like the questions you just asked. How do you go about doing the most constructive thing? You go about doing the most constructive thing by doing the most constructive thing. It's just that simple. Something is either going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect. I say there's no such thing as in between. So anything that you say to a person is going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect.
So, Mr. Fuller, it doesn't matter where you start at or what area you start at, just as long as you start. I'm asking.
Yes. It's not a matter of you planning, laying out something, painfully that you got to, come up and brainstorm and whatnot. Just the thing that you're going to do in the next 5 minutes.
Just do it.
Just do it and then look at it and say, now, did this produce a constructive result? Okay. Even if you're fixing to cook something.
So you're going to analyze it.
You analyze it. That's all you do. Analyze what you're doing at the time you're doing it. I mean, you're doing something 24/7. That's all you have to do.
Okay.
I mean, we have this thing of education is something that's floating around out there in outer space. I mean, and you got to get yourself in all kinds of different kind of positions. Mm-hmm. I mean, and go through a whole lot of different changes to start your education. Education is the process of learning anything minute by minute.
Still learning.
And it's just, every day you're learning something.
Yes.
You're either learning how to do something constructive or non-constructive. And when you put everything in the one or the other of those two categories, that's when you start. You already started, because right now, when you pick up the phone, you're either doing something constructive or non-constructive. It's not complicated at all, but we have been taught to think in this complicated manner. Mm-hmm. That we go through about 10 trillion changes, and then we get in position to start doing something that makes sense. That doesn't make sense, okay? You're doing something every minute. Just make sure that everything that you're doing is constructive.
Gotcha. All right, Mr. Fuller, let me do this. TalkToHim@radio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkToHim@radio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That is radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our topics today have been the verdicts in the system of racism, which is white supremacy, and also redlining in the system of racism and white supremacy. Mr. Fuller has been addressing that and the individual questions that you may have to answer, and they can be off topic. But at this time, and we are just a little late, we want Mr. Fuller to talk about his book, the latest updates, where we can get the book. Obviously, it's going over to England because Mr. McKen has been receiving information. So, Mr. Fuller, update us, please.
Oh, well, there's really no real updating, except it's still available, I've been told, in the UK, United Kingdom, that includes England, and Canada.
All three copies?
There was some problems. I don't know about the original copy now.
Okay.
I'll have to get some information on that, but I think that's available too.
Okay.
Right, but go to producejustice.com for any information. That's my website. Most of the time, I don't even get a chance to look at my own website.
Wow.
And I got to add a lot to it, too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like that movie list that I've been telling about all this time.
Well, they've been on me about that one.
Yes, well, okay. I mean, they've been on me, and I understand it. But see, I originally intended not just to present a list, but I'm in the process of saying what to look for, not in individual movies, but in what to look for in all of the movies put together.
Okay.
All right? Lessons about persistence, about character, about what to do and what not to do under various circumstances.
Okay.
And all like that.
So producejustice.com, is that correct?
Producejustice.com.
All right.
Go to that website, and the information you need for getting the basic book and the Word Guide.
Word Guide.
And the original, for those who want it, is all there. ProduceJustice.com.
All right. Let me get to this last caller. Go ahead, caller. Try to squeeze you in here. Go ahead with your question for Mr. Fuller.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I wanted to ask Mr. Fuller, I have some BGQ and a question at the end. The suspected white supremacist race soldier, Amber Geiger, that shot the young black man, the young black business owner in Dallas, it displayed how the white supremacists immediately got on code after she shot this young black man. They arrested her in another county outside of Dallas County, which is predominantly black, with a black police chief. They arrested her in another county over that is predominantly white. And they made sure to post a $300,000 bail, which is a low bail. The $300,000 bail was posted on a Sunday by police, by supposed police officer, which doesn't make that much money. So it reveals some of the white supremacist code that is going on. They are showing us that they are trying to find a way to kill young black people and get away with it, even in front of the law, to make it legal. They're trying to figure that out. If you're familiar, they just had a John Madden football game tournament where they were playing the video game tournament. A suspected white supremacist killed a couple of people, a mass shooting. But I think by the code, we're supposed to say that any time a black person is harmed, a person of color is harmed, the suspected white supremacists are the usual suspect. So they're trying to say it's not racial, but it still has some racial ties. And so I guess my question is, what does the code say that we should do about these suspected white supremacist groups that are outwardly saying we practice white supremacy, or Adam Watson, the Proud Boys, all these other white supremacist groups, the KKK, that have infiltrated the police force. The FBI said years ago that they knew the white supremacist groups had infiltrated all the nation's police force. So
your question is what now, so we can answer, because we only have a minute or two. What is your question?
Okay, what does the code say? What does the code say we should do to best protect ourselves from these groups?
Okay.
If we even recognize what these groups are.
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
You can't if they are licensed to kill. In other words, if they have a badge and a gun and all like that, and like you say, quote unquote, infiltrated, I say that they're not police officers, they are race soldiers. That's the compensatory code title for it. Now, 3 F's. This is the best you can do. Don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee. Now, a lot of people have said, well, this fellow who was shot, the other day, he wasn't fussing, he wasn't fighting, he was in his own apartment and whatnot. All he did was just see who was at the door. All right? Expect to get killed regardless. You're in a jail cell. You don't have an apartment. You don't have a place on the planet except whatever place the prison masters, the white supremacists, assign to you. You're not even supposed to be breathing unless they let you breathe, according to their code. So therefore, the best you can do is just try not to get hit, all right? Because if you're in a prison, you might get beat up, you might get dragged out of your cell or get beaten up in your cell, okay? That's why I use the movie Shawshank Redemption as an example. You're at the complete mercy. Complete mercy. You have no outing, all right? All you can do is just say, don't shoot me. Well, I'm going to shoot you anyway. Well, you just got shot. You have to look at it like that, because that's what the deal is. Okay. There's nobody that can help you.
All righty. Got to leave it there, Mr. Fuller. Thank you so much. My listeners, our listeners, thank you for the pleasure of your time. TalkTameRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, and radio the way it should be heard. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks Thanks for listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on Talktainment Radio.